Hi guys, this is Yasser from I-SQL and welcome to this tutorial. If this is your first time landing here, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and click on the notification button so you will be the first one to know whenever I post a new tutorial. And if you like the content of this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Also, if you have any questions or requests, please make sure to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to answer all of them. So let's go over the table of content of today's tutorial, then we'll start right after that. Please stay tuned. The like operator is used in a where clause to search for a specified pattern in a column. Let's use some examples here to go over this operator. Okay. This is how we write it. I will write my normal select star statement here. I will choose my table. The table I will be using, it will be the address. Okay, so let's say I need to look for specific value within a column. In this case, I will have to write a where clause starting with the word where. Then I need to specify which column I need to search by. And in this case, I'll be using the address ID. And I will pick an address ID, for example. So what I'm asking SQL to do here is to return any data where the address ID is equal to 12037. Let's try that and see if there is any record that exists. Okay, so we have one. Now let's say I don't want to see all these columns here. In this case, I need to specify which columns I need to see. So I want the address ID, address ID line 1, address line 2, city, state or province ID, postal code. Let me drag this down so you can see the whole query. Okay. This looks better now. So the way I wrote actually this query is I need to get all the records from the table address that meet this criteria. And the criteria is the address ID should equal this value, 12037. Now, I can write this in a different way to where I can eliminate that equal sign or operator, and I can switch it with the operator like. And if I run it, it should work the same way. Why? Is because we are just asking SQL to return again every single row where the address ID value looks like the value that we entered here, 12037, which is exactly this address ID that we have here. Now, let me show you another way how where or another example where we use the like. We can use it also in a string. For example, let's use the address line one because it has a string of characters and numbers, or a combination of the two. Now let's say I need to look for any address that includes the word Napa. Okay, so my query here did error out, and the reason why is because I did not include the operator like. Okay. As you can see here, I had 18 rows actually returned, and all these addresses, they include the word Napa. So the first one has 10 Napa Court, 1970 Napa Court. We have Napa Street, Napa Street, and so on. So this is another way where you use the like, is with wildcards. Wildcards is when we specify a value between two words or a string of words or string of characters. We'll go over this these wildcards actually in the next step. Let's do that then. Wildcards. A wildcard character is used to substitute one or more characters in a string. We usually use it within the where clause. Let's go over some examples. I'm going to start building my query as usual. Select star from, need to put schema, the human. Then my table will be employee. Let me see if I typed it right. Okay. I need to select my database first. And yes, I've got it right. Now, let me limit the columns just to make this result set here looks clean. Okay, so let's say I only need the business entity ID. I need the login ID, job title, and the birth date. Maybe let's add one more, the gender. Okay, this should be enough. Let me drag this down here so you guys see my query. Now let's use or see how we can use the wildcards in here. Let's say I need to look for any job title that starts with the letter A. In this case, I will write where job title, like, remember this is the operator we used in the previous section of this tutorial. Like, then we open our single quote, and we say we need everything that starts with the letter A, like Adam. And I will type in my letter A, and I don't care what comes after the A on my results. As long as that job title starts with the letter A, I need to see it as part of my results. So the additional strings that comes after A, I need to replace that with a percent sign. Then I need to close my single quotes. Now if I execute my query here at the bottom or within the result set, you will see the job titles in all these actually rows that were returned, which are 13 in total. Everything here starts with the letter A. And since we say we don't care what comes after the A, you will see that there is a C after A, an S after A and their assistants, a P for application, specialist. So there is a P that comes after A. As you can see, there is no consistency on whatever character that comes after A. And why? It's because we said, give me everything that starts with A, and we don't care how it ends or what comes after the A. Now, let's say I need to find any job title that ends with the letter T, like Tony. So what we can do here is we need to flip these actually strings. So in this case, I will say, I don't care how the string will start, but as long as it ends with a T, I need it as part of my results here. Now let's execute the query, and you will see everything here ends with the letter T as Tony. So we have assistant ends with T, specialist ends with T. Pretty much everything here is assistant and specialist. Oh, we have accountant. It starts with T as well. Okay. So this is how we play with the wildcards when it comes to strings or values, how we want them to start, how we want them to end. Or let's try another example here where we will go over a string that we are concerned with that is in the middle of that whole string of characters within a column. Now let's say I need to look for anything that has the value OR in the middle. The way we do that is we need to start our filter here by using the percent sign. Then we can write our OR, then end it with a percent sign again. So the way we read this is I'm asking SQL to return all records where the job title has these two characters in the middle. I don't care how the value of that column starts. I don't care how the value of this column ends. As long as there is a value of equal to OR in the middle of the whole string within the column, then yes, return it. Let's execute it so we can see an example here. All right, so we are looking for anything that has OR in the middle. This is the whole string. It starts from S all the way to R for designer. And we need to look for anything that has OR between S and R. And we have it here under senior, OR. Hopefully you can see it right here. For the second example, is actually within the same bucket. We have the OR for senior. We have it here also, OR for senior. Now, in example number 4, we have it under supervisor. So this is where the OR is. And let's see if we have other actually values down the results here. So this one is also supervisor. This one is janitor. So we have an OR. Now you're going to tell me, well, OR is at the end of the word, and we say it needs to be in the middle. But again, just to explain it in a very simplified way again, so I need the value. I don't care if the value or what the value starts with, and I don't care what it ends with. As long as actually it has the value OR in it, then bring it in. So in this case, it did bring it as at the end of the word, which is okay because we still said, I don't care how the word ends. Now, let's say I need to look for anything where the second letter is R, like Robert. The way you write that is you type in underscore R for the second character, then a percent sign. The way you read that is I need results from this column where the second letter is an R, and I don't care how that string of characters end, and I don't care how it starts. But as long as the second letter is an R, bring it back. Let's execute it and see some examples here. So the first example we have is production. So the second letter is an R, as you can see right here. Second letter is an R. And let's see if we have something else other than production. Well, it looks like everything within our database that has a job title where the second letter is an R is actually a production. I can't see anything else, but I hope that this example actually made a better sense. Now, let's say, or let's go over another example where I love to play with these actually wildcards. The next example we will be looking at here is I need any value that starts with the letter M, like Monica, and ends with the letter T, like Tony. So the way we do that is I need to specify my first letter, then I don't care what happens in the middle of that whole string within that column, as long as my last letter is T, like Tony. Let's execute this query here and go over the results. Okay, so we have marketing assistant. It starts with the letter M in marketing. It ends with the letter T in assistant right here. And we have another value, marketing specialist. It also starts with the letter M as Monica. It ends with T as a Tony. And this is exactly what we specified in our filter here. So this is how you guys can use the wildcard within your SQL statements. And you can use as many characters as you need within your filters. And just so you know, all the results are depending on the way you write your statement here or filter. Date format. We can write our date actually in SQL in many formats. And the first thing we will do here, let's see how we can determine today's date. So the way you do that in SQL, you have to write your select statement. And today's date is actually corresponding to get date, open parentheses, and close parentheses. This is how we look for today's date in a SQL database. Now, if I execute this command, and as you can see, I don't have any tables specified in my query here. And the reason I have that done this way is because I'm trying to look for today's date within SQL system, not within SQL database, where I have to look through some tables in order to find that. I'm just going through against the system and saying, give me today's date. Okay, and as you can see, it says today's date, January 22nd, 2021, and the time is 10:43 a.m., which is the morning. Now, as you can see, I did not specify or alias the column name. That's why it did not spit out anything here. And remember the alias in a column from the previous tutorials? This is where it comes handy. So we will call it, for example, today's date. And there you go. Now, let's say I need to actually get the first day of the current month. So we are in January 2021. I need to extract, or actually, sorry, I need to get the first day of this month. In this case, I need to write it this way. Date add m for month, date def and of the current month. Now I have some stuff here that are underlined. Let's see, what did I type wrong? This should be a comma instead of parentheses. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is today's date, January 22nd. And since I was looking for the current date, I'm sorry, the very first date of the current month, it did return January 1st, 2021, which is exactly the very first date of the current month. Now, and you guys don't need to memorize by heart all these actually syntaxes here. You can always look them up online. For example, let me give you an example here. So if I need to look for that, I just look for SQL first day of previous month. Then you just click on the first actually result that you will get. Then you can highlight the first query that you will get. Come to your management SQL Studio or SQL Server Management Studio and paste it. You can run it. And this one actually is the first day of previous month. Is that what I looked for? It looks like that's what I looked for. Yeah, the previous month. Well, let's say the current month. Okay. So let's specify today's date here. So using today's date, I need to get the first day of that month. The month for which today's date corresponds to is January of 2020. And as you can see, the query returned the very first day of the current month. So that's why you don't need to actually memorize all these actually syntaxes. Everything is online and Google will be your friend. So let's say now I need to look for the last day of the current month. The way you do that is you can write end of month from get date plus 0 last day of the current month. And as you can see, it did give me the last day of the current month, which is January 31st. Now, let's say I don't want to see the timestamp within those date results here. The way you can do it, for example, on the first one, which is today's date, I can wrap that command or syntax between a cast. So I will cast it as date and I will alias it as today's date. So casting it as a date will only bring us this value here and it will remove the timestamp. We will not see it. Let's try that. As you can see, it's gone. Let's do that for the same column, the second column as well. We will cast it as date, then we will alias it as first day of current month. So it will show here as a column header. Alrighty. Now we have clean data. Now let's say we want the first day of the previous month and the last day of the previous month. So again, you can always Google it. And just to save some time here, I'm going to just copy and paste it. And as you can see, the previous month is December of 2020. And the first day is December 1st of 2020. Last day of previous month is December 31st. And the same thing here. Let's get rid of the timestamp. Can do cast the whole syntax as a date. And there you go. The timestamp is gone. Let's do that for the last day of previous month as well. And I'm repeating this casting just so you guys get used to it. There you go. The timestamp is gone. Now let's try the next month. So because we are in January 2021, next month, first day will be February the 1st, and the last day will be February 28th of 2021. And because those values are already casted as date, I don't have to to add the cast data in here. And let's say now we need to extract each value from a date in a separate column. And the way we do that will be, for example, let me get rid of everything here. I'm going to comment it out so it doesn't return anything. So let's play with today's date only at this moment. Now let's say I need to return the day, the value of the day, which is the 22nd, by itself in its own and dedicated column. The way you do that is you type in day from today's date and alias it as day. So I'm going to write it this way so I can extract just the day in its own column and add it here. Okay, so you see it did actually give us the value of 22, and it did extract it from this whole string of a full date. Now let's say I need to bring in just the month from today's date as month. And the month of January is actually the very first month of the year, so that's why we have the value 1, and it was extracted from here. Now let's say I need the year in its own separate column. The way you do that, same way, get date as a year. So what I suggest, whenever you write a query and your column is in different color other than black, make sure to put it between square brackets. That way, SQL will not take that value or that column header as a function that is a built-in to the SQL actually coding. So just you will tell SQL, hey, this is not this command or this syntax or this function or operator. However, it is a column header that needs to be actually telling me what column I'm dealing with. Sometimes there are some commands or operators. They are fine to be within a column actually header, even if you don't put the square bracket. But sometimes there are some actually that they can't be taken. I can't remember which ones. Let me see. There are some actually that cannot be taken as a column header. For example, plan, I guess. Yeah. As you can see, in order to call that column as a plan, I need to wrap it between square brackets. So, however, this is not a plan, but it's a year. Okay. Now, let's say I need to change the format of this date from whatever format you're looking at right here to where I will see the 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, 2 digits for the year. In order to do that, we can write convert char, because we will be converting the value from a date to a string. Char get date Let's edit it also as today's date. So as you can see, we have 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the date or the day, and 2 digits for the year. So let's call the column this way, so it will make sense to us. That will match the format. Now let's say I want the same format, but now with the 4 digits for the year. The way we do that is we just switch this from 1 to 101. And that will give us the 4. Remember, this has nothing to do with what's going to be returned. It's just the name of the column. This is where everything happened. By changing this number from 1 to 101, we will add 2 digits to this one. And as you can see, it's the same one. It's just that this one has 2 digits for the year, and this one has 4 digits for the year. Now, let's try another value here or format for the date. Okay. No, I don't want this one. That's pretty much the same one that I had. Okay, 106 it should be. And this time we need it to show 2 digits for the date, 3 digits for the month, and 4 digits for the year. Let's run it. And as you can see, it says 2 digits for the day, 3 digits, which are the first 3 digits of the month, January, and 4 digits for the year. There are so many formats of dates that you can play with. And again, you don't have to remember everything by heart on all these syntaxes. You can always search them on Google or any browser that you may have through any search engine. And the main actually website that I usually use, and again, this is not a sponsored website. It's just one of my favorite websites that I usually use. Okay, if you don't have access to install a SQL server within your computer, or you don't have a Microsoft SQL Management Studio where you can practice all these syntaxes and codes, you can always go to w3schools.com/SQL or SQL / and you will have pretty much all the commands here. So that's why I keep telling you, you don't have to remember everything that I'm typing or what I'm saying. You can always find everything in Google. Then let's see here. So they have the SQL dates. These are all the crazy formats that we have gone through. And some of them we didn't cover because there are too many actually date formats. And you just keep scrolling, it will tell you how to do it. It will also give you syntaxes. You can also Google multiple formats from different websites. So there is this syntax. It gives you also here the syntax for each of these formats. Let's try this one. Not sure if it's gonna take format, but let's try it. Yeah, it did. Okay, so today is Friday, January 2021. It just didn't have actually what day. Yep. So this is how you play with the date format. And as I said, if you don't know how to write a format or a syntax, if you can't remember it, just use Google, and any website actually will give you the syntax and help you write everything that you need actually. Date difference. Date difference actually is used to calculate the difference between two dates. For example, what's the difference between day 1 and day 2 in days, or what's the difference between day 1 and day 2 in months, like how many months in between, things like that. So let's go over some examples here. Okay, so let's say select star from my... Sorry, I need to select my database. So let's go over the employees table. And as usual, I don't want to see all those columns. I only need to see few to make my result set actually look cleaner. Job title, hire date. Okay, so for each of these employees, we have a hire date. Now, let's say I need to know for how many days this employee has been hired for. In order to do that, let me add today's date first. Okay, let me cast this as date. Okay, so today's date is January 22nd of 2021, and this employee here was hired on January 14 of 2009. Now, I need to see the difference between the hire date and today's date in days. So how many days this guy has been hired. All right, in order to do that, we will write date diff, which is date difference, and I need the results to be returned in days. And I need to put my first date here, which is the hire date, and my second date, it will be today's date. And I will alias it as difference in days. So pretty much what I'm asking SQL to do here is to calculate the difference between the hire date and today's date, which is this column and this column, and give me the results here under a column called difference in days in total of days. Like how many days? 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 2000 days. And as you can see here, this employee here in row 16 has been employed with the company for 4,782 days. This employee was employed actually within the company for 5,000 days, 110. Next one is 3,637 days that he or she has been actually employed with the company. Now let's say we want to do this in month. you can use the same exact syntax and you just switch from day to months and you alias it in months. So this guy was hired for 144 months within the company. This guy, 156 months within the company, and so on. So this is how you calculate the difference between two dates. Type in the date difference. How do you want to see that difference? Is it in days or months? And you put your first column or date column, and then comma your second date column, and you execute your query. Then you will get your results in days, results in months, based on how you wrote your statement. Between. The between operator returns values within a specific or a given range. Let's go over some examples here. Let's write our query. So we will use our employees table again. Specify our columns. And let's do our hire date. Okay, let's run our query now to make this result set clean. Okay, now let's say we want to look for any employees that were hired between a date A and date B. In this case, I will need to go to my where clause and say where the hire date is between, then I can specify the first date as January 1st of 2007 and December 31st of 2007. So you need to say, specifying the where clause, your column under which you are running your filter or your condition, and you specify the operator between, then your first date, and you have to write the operator and your second date range. Now if I run this query, as you can see here, I have people that were hired in 2009, 7, 2008, 2010, and so on. Now by running this query, everything that gets returned should be between this date and this date. As you can see, everything is within 2007. Now let's say I need to look for people that were hired in 2009 only. Then I can run my query and you will see that everything here is showing that the hire date happened in 2009. Now let's try different date range here. And you can play with these actually dates in the way that you want, or based on the criteria that actually your project is asking for. I'm just using these dates here for the sake of example, so people can actually understand how they can use the between operator in SQL. All right, so we have everyone here. was hired in 2010. So this is how you use the between operator. Let's go over these operators. This is different than, less than or equal, greater than or equal, equal, plus, or minus. Let's go over some examples in which we will implement all these actually operators. First thing we will need to do here, let's start building our query. Okay, let's always use our employees table. I keep using this table because it's kind of easy to stick to that one table. Okay. I'm always trying to type my query or write my query in a way that it's more readable. I don't like to keep writing like all the columns in the same row like this. I always like to write each column in its own row. Okay. All right, so now let's say I need to look for all employees that were not hired within a certain day. For example, anyone in January 14th of 2009, I don't want to see those. In order to do that, we need to write our where clause, and we need to specify the column under which we need to apply our condition. And let's say is different than 2009 January 14th. So pretty much when I run this query, all the results that will be within this result set here will be for every employee except the ones that were actually, as you can see, employee number 1 was hired on January 14th, 2009. So pretty much this employee here will be exempt, or we will not see it as part of the results. Let's run our query. Yep, as you can see, number 1 is gone because we say we don't want to see any employee that was hired on this date, January 1st of 2009. Let's say I don't want to see anyone that was hired in 2007, December the 5th. In this case, employee number 4 should not show. See, we have employee 1, 2, 3, number 4 is gone. We don't see it anymore. Why? Because we literally specified for SQL to not return any employee that was hired on this date, December 5th of 2007. Now, let's go over the less than or equal. Let's say we need to look for all employees that were hired prior to January 1st of 2007. Let's do that. Less than or equal. Okay, so far we have one employee that was hired prior to January 1st, 2007, which happened to be employee number 28. He or she was hired on June 30th of 2006. Now, let's say we need to look for anyone that was hired on or after January 1st of 2007. This is how you write greater than or equal. And as you can see, all the values here should be greater than or equal to the value that we put in our condition here, or our filter. You should not see anything less than this date in our result sets. I'm going to scroll down all the way down so you will see there is no dates that's less than 1/1/2007. There you go. I did scroll over all our 289 rows, and nothing was showing that the date is less than this 1/1/2007. Why? Because we literally specify in our query to only see employees hired on or after this date. Now, let's say we want to look for employees hired within a specific date. In that case, we need to use the operator equal right here. So I'm gonna keep my same query here. I will just say where the hire date equal to January 31st of 2008. And let's say if there is anyone here. Yep, we have one of their VPs that was hired on the same date, actually. January 31st of 2008. Now, let's say we need to look for another employee that was hired on January 31st of 2007. Let's see if there are any that exist. Nope. Okay, so I'm trying just random numbers to see if I can come across any employees here. Okay, so we have December the 5th. Okay, so we have one here that was hired on the date that I entered. So this is how you write the equal operator. Now, let's go over the plus and the minus operators within our query here for dates. So let's say we want to display today's date. Remember, you always do that by entering get date. And as you can see here, it's giving us today's date. Now, let's say I don't like that format again. I need to only see the date. I don't want to see the timestamp. Okay. So we have today's date. Now, let's say I need to see or ask SQL to tell me what was yesterday's date based on today's date. In this case, I can say get date -1 as yesterday. So if today is January 22nd, yesterday's column should give me January 21st. And let's run it. And as you can see, it's telling me it's January 21st. Now let's say I want to see or find what tomorrow's date is going to be based on today's date. Pretty much you just switch the -1 to +1. Run your query. And as you can see, today's date is January 22nd. Yesterday was January 21st. And tomorrow it will be January 23rd. I misspelled this. Tomorrow's date. Okay. This is how you run or execute all these operators within SQL statements or queries. The in list allows you to check whether a value matches any values within that in list statement or clause. Let's go over a few examples here to show you how we can use that. Okay, as usual, we need to write our query. Select star from, let's use our employees table still. Okay, so let's just use these columns for now. So let's say I need to only look for employees whose job title is a design engineer. Then I can say where job title equal design engineer. So as you can see, I have 3 employees. Now let's say I need to return a data set related to all employees under the design engineer job title and marketing specialist. In that case, I will need to create my list. And the way I do that is simply by typing where job title in, and this is my list. If I run my query, you will see that the results are returning any employee under the design engineer or the marketing specialist job title, as I specified here in the list. Now let's say I need also to add another value here. So I also need to see anyone that's accountant in addition to these two job titles. Okay, so I have an error here. It's because I forgot to add single quotes to wrap the value here that I'm looking for. All right, so we have employees under design engineer, marketing specialist, and accountant, exactly as we specified it here. We say in our in list, we have design engineer, marketing specialist, and accountant. And that's what you will get once you execute this query. So this is how you run or use an in list within your query.